So JR is he's still laid up. What do we do, huh? Well, in this case, there's no doubt he has some questions that need to be answered. And so we'll be here in a minute, and we will work on those questions. Hendrick, Texan consort, and gentlemen, podcast of the early life of yours truly in a narrative commentary. Hey everybody, Jimmy here, nursing on Sprite, was enjoying key lime pie also. This is the week of my birthday, so that'll explain a few things. Okay, so we're in the blessed part of this. Let me see if I can get in the music. JR is lying in kind of like a private room in the endocrinology lab, and this is the blessed part. He has a guest, someone that you can't imagine. JR's half out of it. Jennifer she's walking in. He still hasn't noticed her. At this point, it's like she's there. I think she's like taps him on the shoulder, and she's being all nice. You're not even a hospital bed can stop you, JR. And he's like in shock. He said, the way you acted, I thought your parents would never let me see you again. And she said, I begged my grandmother. And she booked me a flight straight here. Look, don't give up. And don't have your dreams, don't leave your dreams aside. I still care about you. And JR, he's being all sweet. He's like, sure, you can have anything you want with me. And she, she's running her fingers through his hair. She's like, I would love none better because you're trusting me with a lot of them, and my parents, you're trusting, man, that a lot of men my parents want me to date. See you later, JR. And please take care of yourself. Okay, he was jubilant and cheered up when she was there. But when she leaves, he's downhearted. He's heartbroken. So he leans back in bed. So it's 10:30 in the morning. And Jimmy's at the hospital. He's on the phone with Betsy. No, she calls him. And she's like mad, angry, pissed, angry, and you can't blame me. Why didn't you call me and tell me how our son is being? I knew it was admitted, but I have a right to know. And Jim's like, look, I'm sorry. I've been busy, on this appointment. It means everything to me in my life and everything. And she says, JR is lying in there, in that hospital, sick and alone because of you. She's pissed. She's venting all around. She says, I don't think your position is worth my family. I talked to Dr. Lowell. He's arranging for JR to be released Thursday and meet me in Dallas on Friday. No matter what it costs you. So it's obvious, he's pissed. And then at noon in Phoenix, Jim is standing outside the hospital when he gets another call from Christine. And she's like beside herself angry. Just don't believe that you didn't call Mom. Amy Kathleen is beside herself, and Uncle Tom is very upset. And he's like, little girl, I just assumed that JR could have told you. Okay, so it's 2 p.m. Jim walks into JR's room to find him, he's waking up from a nap. And, Jim's all glib. Hello, JR, you seem to be doing just fine. And, your doctor dumped your cortisol. And so, JR's like, he's going through the room. It's like, oh, nice to see that you're concerned, Daddy, It's not like years ago. You can't just hold me up in your arms and say it's all good. Like so and everything. And he's like, Jim's, you can't understand why his son's doing this. Like, hey, no, he's angry. He thinks that JR's copying an act. He's like, come on, JR, don't be smart mouth. He's like, what'd I do to you? He said, hey, I got you to this clinic, okay? And they found what's wrong here. You can go back to tech, or when you're done with the mail, I just never meant to. I never meant to hurt your feelings. But I brought you to the mail, and JR's like, stop thinking like it was when we was kids, And JR like, look, you done some things that piss me off. Just go away. So it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and at the Richland, Christine is on the phone with Kyle. He's talking to him about the condition of JR. And Kyle's more nonchalant, thinking that perhaps, basically when he gets mad at Jim, he calls him Jimmy. Jimmy could be right, And Christine, she's like, she's out of the family, not doing about JR. And Christine's like, look, wake up, Kyle. Daddy pulled a big drunk on Christmas Day, Amy Kathleen is upset, She went on a date tonight with her boyfriend, And you don't need to get Mama started because she's already pissed. Okay, so it's 5 p.m. in the hospital. JR's having this usual, they put him on a diet of beans and rice, which is crazy. And his cousin Max comes in. And he's like, Jerry, look miserable. How are you? And Jerry reaches and says, he said, hey, can you do me a favor? And fetch me this shirt. I'm just sick and tired of sitting here and lying here in this hospital gown. And so he fetches him the shirt and he puts it on and he says, hey, your mom called us today. Says she wishes us well. We're leaving for Lubbock tomorrow night. You just take care of yourself. And Gerald's like, hey, look, I'm more concerned my family, I know that your daddy's story of the truth of how Grandma and Grandpa Hendrick ended. Not Daddy's way. That's what Max, that's Max actually talking to Gerald. And Gerald's like, And Max says, Grandma tells it the way that Uncle Carl does. Because the fact of the matter is, they both sat around the house waiting for, Grandpa to show up. And, it's obvious the story was, it was Jim was kid. He was taking odd jobs. And when Grandma wasn't working, she and Carl just basically sat in the house waiting for Grandpa to come back. And Carl's like, who cares? Because Grandpa let me down. And Max continues. He says, look, Dad and Grandpa knew, but Grandpa was just going to let, Uncle Jim down. Grandpa, he wasn't going to be getting that car. And, how, with Ryan Hendrick, fighting World War II in Korea changed him. In between the two wars, he was a sensitive and caring guy when he wasn't drinking. But during the wars, it was like he didn't care. And that's why, according to Max, Uncle Carl and Grandma were happy to leave. But obviously Jared's dad wasn't. And Jared's like, look, he don't really care about anybody. He's never really happy. All he cared about is his ego and himself. And Max says, look, I was just 6 months old when Dad moved us to Montana. Dad said Grandpa, took me in his arms and said, he wished he could see his other grandkids. But he felt that, Jared's dad was too angry at him to reach out to him. And the Christmas that he was 6, he remembers step-grandma and grandpa getting the toy computer. And Uncle Carl says that's a bit too much, and they call Granny. He's like, don't upset Granny. Granny wants to have a computer. And Gerald's like, okay, why did he kill himself? And Max says, look, JR, this is what Dad and Grandma have been trying to tell you. He was dying of prostate cancer. He didn't want any more prostate surgery and chemotherapy. So that's why he did what he did to himself. Now, but here's the issue. The problem, if you will. Jim is trying to be too busy to be a Mr. Tough Man. Okay, and so it's the next day. JR's cousin Thomas wakes up in the ranch house. And he's getting ready to, later on day to take the 3 cows that didn't sell in Irving and take them for an auction in Amarillo. Now, he's kind of angry because Kyle's kind of enjoying himself at that cattle auction. And then, 1 in the morning in Phoenix, a middle-aged nurse is playing this song, Poison Ivy by the Coasters. Maybe some of you grew up in the 70s, and maybe your parents may have played it on the radio or something. Or maybe your grandparents, I don't know. And Dr. Roth, he's one of the senior doctors there. He comes in with a resident to talk about JR's chart. They noticed he was itching on the shoulders and neck. And so, while he was sleeping, they went ahead and ordered an IV fusion of cortisol. Okay, so it's 3 a.m. At the ranch, Thomas goes downstairs to get himself a cup of coffee and some no-dose pills. See, Thomas, he's the son of Gerald's Uncle Tom, okay, the oldest one. Sadly, though, even though he has a namesake, he decides to stay around the ranch and be a rebel. Drinking no-dose pills, when he's not on work, late-night parties. So, he has to go downstairs and milk the cows, get them ready to take the Amarillo. So, it's 3 a.m. in Phoenix. And it's back at the Mayo. A nurse discusses with 2 internists about JR's case. She had given him, on order from the doctor, another IV infusion of cortisol. The doctor noted on his chart that he was sick in rice and beans. And that perhaps as for the doctor Kelton should discuss things with his father. I'm like, why are they discussing things with his father? Why does Jim Hendrick, his father, have that much control over his health care? Now, at the same time, Jim is up in the mansion in Phoenix. And, now, Marlena says she may have to speak at a Maryland Institute seminar before hopping a trailer jet to take her back to, her husband in New Orleans. Okay, so it's 7 a.m. This is in Washington, D.C., the Eastern Time Zone. Amy Kathleen is having waffles for breakfast with Greg at Ascension Christian College. Okay, this is, like we said, the multiverse. It's a cross between Cambridge University and the London School of Economics, but it's a conservative college. Rhino House, Rhino, not to be confused with the Rino, Republicans name, no, Rhino, House Dining Hall. The house was given as a donation by Dr. Paul Rhino, Special Assistant Speechwriter for Orrin Hatch, and a third-generation real estate multi-billionaire in Utah. Now, the dormitory is slightly attached to the Student Union building at the Ascension Hills campus in Virginia. So it's in Virginia, not D.C. And so Amy Kathleen's like, look, I'm just appalled at Uncle Jim right now. He didn't tell the rest of the family about where JR had to go to, a male clinic in Phoenix. And Greg's like, look, I'm real sorry that you're going through this. I really am. I never knew him well, except from maybe a party or two, but I know JR means a lot to you. And she says, Uncle Jim's in Phoenix, and Betsy's gone. You're the only male figure I know I can come to with this. And he said, look, and Greg said, look, I never had a chance to know this guy, your cousin. If anybody deserves some concern or prayer, it's going to be JR. Okay, daylight here, 7:15 a.m. Dr. Keene arrives to say they're going to be testing him for anemia. Now, let me give you some context here. There is a rare blood disease for those of Mediterranean descent called thalassemia B minor, or what's known as Mediterranean anemia. And, to some people that are not specialized in that, they get the blood test and, I think it's anemia. And that's what they're doing with JR. And it's the same thing. JR don't have anemia, but they keep testing for that. I've gone through that. So an orderly is ready with a wheelchair to take him to the lab. Okay, it's 11 a.m. It's in D.C. And Christine, she's taking a break from school. And she's at the bar mansion in Arlington, Virginia. And she's cleaning off her father's desk when Amy Kathleen comes in. And she says, hey, why don't you come to lunch? And Christine's like, look, I'm sorry, I just don't have the time. I promised Dad that I would, clean the surface of the desk. And he has this new intern that is fresh out of grad school named Caesar. And I have to have a spot for him to work doing errands and work alongside Dad. And Amy Kathleen, she's like flabbergasted, okay? This is twice in a row that you turned down lunch with me. Christine, what gives? I thought Aunt Betsy wanted us to try to stay together as a family. And Christine says, yeah, well, because JR is laid up, Dad is asking me to take on other responsibilities. I look at the bright side, I can work on my homework when there's downtime. Okay, it's 11 a.m. in Phoenix. And JR goes to the hospital. They arrange him to be put near a desk, and there's a technology called hi-fi internet. So he puts that up, he types in his email to his friend Ken. Dear Kenneth. And I'm going to read the letter. Jared's voice. Well, he's so damn glad to get out of here. Strapped to a bed, put through the damn ringer. I'm sick and tired of just beans and rice. Not to mention, the first day I got there, that they strapped me to a bed, knocked me out, and put the little camera tube up the brown on up to the culo. See, Jared's like me, Jared's got a little sense of humor. And so, someone comes in the door and says, Jeremy, I come in. And Jared's apparently like, are you going to phone me to Daddy? And Mike feels like, look, Jared, that's not what I'm here for. I'm still going to do what your father asked me to do as far as keeping an eye on you. But but your mother's been talking to the head doctor in endocrinology. You've been through enough. Charlie Nation, against your daddy's wishes, he's coming down from San Antonio tomorrow to come see you. And you're leaving together Friday morning for Dallas. And Jared's like shot. He sits up there, you mean you don't mind? And Mike says, listen, I mind care about your father as much as anyone. But one thing your granddad told me, that when he stepped into it, don't defend him. Especially when you're upset. To take your side. And Jared's like, taking like, And so Mike feels, he sits down and says, look, I don't like you rooming with Charlie Nation any more than your parents do. But at this point, with what your father's done, what he's put you through, I can maybe understand. I just want to keep an eye on you. Okay, it's back to Eastern Time. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Royal Christian University School of Law. Now, why Elizabeth Marie is going there, it's a mystery, okay? Because, well, she's a junior. She goes in there and she walks into this cafeteria. And she sees a young man she's kind of enthralled with. And she says, you're going to law school? I find that impressive. He's approaching. And he says, look, after school, I just work the cafeteria. And, he's basically just throwing her off. And she's, look, you just have a job. That's all the qualifications of a man I need. And he's like, no offense, honey. I can't afford you. I can't afford you. And you can't possibly want to go out with me. Elizabeth Marie is not like to take no for an answer. Elizabeth said, look, things ain't too good at home. I could use a good diversion. I live with the Hendrick family. They're in a mansion in Arlington, Tennessee. Around just plain folks. It's like Uncle Jim. It's all we've been hearing lately. Uncle Jim likes to talk about, and he's all flushed. All right, tomorrow night on the campus, the Lincoln Theater at the Student Union. We'll watch a good movie. And he introduced himself as Frank. We just know him as Frank. And Elizabeth Marie says, I'm Elizabeth Marie Hendrick. Nice to meet you. And Frank's kind of, skeptic. He said, look, I know you're one of those people. I have to get some homework done. I'll call you later on tonight. Whether or not he will, we'll see. Okay, so it's 3:15 p.m. Mountain. JR's laying in his bed, listening to the Blake Carter show. His cell phone rings. And it's Dr. Kinghorn. And he's like, look, hey, how familiar are you with measurements in public affairs? And JR's like, hey, I just learned a few things from Dr. Harmon's class, but, it ain't my strongest suit. And Dr. Kinghorn says, hey, I want you to consider getting hooked heads in with your buddy Charlie Nation, who's studying applied economics. Dr. Harmon wants to pick his brains. And maybe you can learn a few things about measurement before, you take my class in the fall. Okay, it's 3:45 p.m. in Phoenix. And Jim, he's in the mansion in the pool. Him and Marlena. Okay, she's a personal development giant. And I think they've been kind of doing nasty. You can just kind of tell. And Marlena says, I bet you worked at Product and Appetite. And he said, yeah, I've ordered some good catfish. We're going to have a good dinner. I just wish I wouldn't have to go back to D.C. just yet. And she says, well, I'll just have to make it worth your while, since you're building me some of your plan. And he said, but you could. But, tomorrow I already got this intern that's coming in named Caesar, fresh out of graduate school. He's going, the manager's meeting on Friday. I'm not going to get chewed out. So, and she's like, but when you get off Friday, we'll talk. So it's 7 o'clock in Phoenix. And JR, he gets on the phone with his grandma Elizabeth. And he's kind of down. I kind of don't understand what's going on in this family anymore. I'm mad at Daddy. Christine's mad at Daddy. Christine's mad at me. And Elizabeth says, yeah. Yeah, he told me what was wrong with you. But I still don't understand. And so Jared's like, look, adrenaline is low. Fighting stress and inflammation. And she says, well, your mama has chartered a jet for me to get back to Dallas tomorrow so I can get a chance to see you before I go off to Tech. And JR said, Charlie's going to be there with me. And she says, look, I don't really care. Grandma saying that. I don't really care what your dad says. He can't stand him, but you know what? Charlie's a hell of a lot better than Brad and Jim Bob. Okay, so it's 7:40 p.m. Mountain. Jim gets off the phone with JR, of course, lecturing him about his he should keep up his studies. And JR, you don't say nothing, so just go away. So, on the bright side, though, we had a lovely catfish dinner with Marlena. And, he meets this mob security detail guy named Billy Keene, K-E-E-N. He was a man who was second in command for this Greek-Irish mafia that was trying to get into foothold territory to try to overcome some of the Mexican mafia. Keene offers Jim Hendrix some political protection during this time, because you can tell Daddy ain't up to no good. And he pretty much ain't. Now this sets up this story. Obviously, Betsy has called the hospital to talk to the head of endocrinology to say, my son's been through enough. I mean, I want him to go there to get some tests and everything, but he's been through enough. He needs to spend his last weekend, with us. Now with that, we hope you enjoy listening to the J.R. Hendrick Takes and Gentlemen. If you like what you hear, please subscribe to become a part of the adventure. This is James Hendrick Empowerment Network saying until next time, get ready for the rest of the story. It's going to get more interesting from here.